Another day, another loss for the New York Mets, where Starling Marte has himself just some horrendous double plays, this time to end the ball game. How we doing, everybody? Even though I know if you're a Mets fan, you're not doing great right now. I know I'm not. I'm pretty pissed off, I gotta be honest with you, because Brandon Sproat did anything and everything that you could have possibly asked for in his Major League debut today for the New York Mets here, as we're gonna break down in our latest Mets post-game show presented by our amazing sponsors at SeatGeek that have you covered for all of your ticketing needs, as well as all of our great friends there at Mumu, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. But back to SeatGeek. Make sure you guys utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. You guys can see along beside me right now, this is Brandon Sproat's final line. We're going to break it down more shortly, and I want to know your grades for Brandon Sproat's final line here shortly, guys. But as we see, Sproat went 6 innings of 3 earned run baseball, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. Once we get on to actually breaking down how Sproat fared in this one, breaking down his arsenal a bit more, headlined by that curveball that was nasty backdoor especially, we'll talk about our final line grade on a scale of 1 to 10. From there, we'll get into Reed, Garrett, Tyler Rogers. They did their job. The Mets pitching, all in all, did their job today. When you give up 3 earned runs, you have nothing to be complaining about as a fan. The only reason why you complain is when you have an offense that does little to nothing at the same time, and that's unfortunately what happened for this Mets team today. As you guys can see, only a couple hits in this one between Hunter Greene, and then the Mets having that rally that, again, was, as a surprise to absolutely nobody, too little too late in the 9th inning. The Mets showed yet again that they are not a team that can rally back in the 7th or 8th, the 8th or 9th inning. They have yet to do so at any point this season. Why should we believe now, with 3 weeks left or so in the season, that, oh, this is going to miraculously change in favor of the Mets, that they themselves are going to get out of this rut? Just because the Baltimore Orioles had some crazy magic going on, snapping the no-no by Yoshinobu Yamamoto in the 9th inning yesterday, to then rallying all the way back and somehow winning after you saw who get beat up, that being and Blake Trinan, their veteran right-hander, as well as Tanner Scott, who continues to look horrendous for them in year 1 and that big deferred contract. So, talking about the Dodgers-Orioles matchup, we state, okay, and the Orioles can do it as the only other team to not rally back heading into the 9th inning this season. Maybe it's the Mets' turn. But unfortunately for Gary on the broadcast and for us Mets fans, that was not going to become a reality. Juan Soto had his 38th home run this season that we saw there in the highlights. I'm going to show you guys more in a second. But that only means so much when, again, the Mets' offense was nowhere to be seen for basically the entirety of this ball game. And this is more so where you have to tip the cap for sure. No doubt about it. Hunter Greene is a tremendous starter. This isn't as much about the Mets offense being horrendous as this Hunter Greene being utterly dominant. It's just the frustrating aspect of this is that the Mets drop a series now to a Cincinnati Reds team when you could have put the nails in the coffin. Instead, the Reds are still now afloat in the wildcard race, and if the Giants win their latest game, they're only going to be 3 back of the Mets right now. So the Mets were fortunate to see a Giants team that's been like 12-1 in the last 13 blow it in the 9th inning yesterday. Surprisingly, the Reds are still just 4 games back. The Diamondbacks have entered the fold 4 games back. The St. Louis Cardinals, even though I'm not overly concerned for them at this point in time, they're still 5 games back. So by no means is it a given that the Mets have a playoff spot locked down, which is why when we talk about the Phillies being north of 8 games up on the Mets right now, we don't care about that. As much as I would love to win the division, I think we can all agree that ship has sailed until proven otherwise. Even if the Mets go out and sweep their next 4 games, they're still going to be down at least 4 or so games there from the division lead with only 2.5 weeks or so left to play. It just likely isn't going to happen. I think the sooner we accept that, if you haven't already, the better. What has not been better for the Mets, unfortunately, again, has been their offense the past 24 hours. And folks, have you been seeing that big orange bowl that's making Mondays at Citi Field way more exciting? I'm talking about our amazing sponsor on the platform at Mumu. As the #1 Mets channel on YouTube, I absolutely love to break down stats, analysis, really getting into the nitty-gritty numbers, and that is why I love so much Mumu, because they do exactly that with that same analytical approach when it comes to investing. It's a trading platform with professional grade tools and premium research that other companies usually charge a pretty hefty price for, all come for free when you sign up as a customer with Mumu. But folks, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And thanks to Mumu's partnership with our beloved New York Metropolitans, all Mumu customers can get free tickets to any and every Mets home game on a Monday throughout the course of the season. That's right, folks. Free baseball all season long for the greatest fan base in sports. Not to mention Mumu Millions. If the Mets pull off 100 wins this season, one lucky Mumu customer is going to come out winning $1 million. And what's nuts about this is that Mumu has already given away $10,000 when the Mets hit first 25 wins this season, as well as $20,000 when they hit the 50-win mark. And when the Mets inevitably hit 75 wins, they're giving away $30,000. But as much as they love baseball, Mumu's number one priority is jump-starting your investing journey, which is why they're giving the WardyNYM community up to $1,000 in NVIDIA stock just for making a qualified deposit and becoming a Mumu customer. So folks, what are you waiting for? Head to start.mumu.com/Wardy, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to join the Mumu community. Now, let's get back to our Mets. Between the Mets and the Reds here as Hunter Greene dominates 12 strikeouts, most strikeouts that the Mets have had against them by one singular starter this season, and Brandon Sproat did a fantastic job across 6 innings, but not enough as this offense for a second straight day just could not get the job done. Too little too late as we saw them try to rally in the 9th inning. And it begins there, everybody, that we see in the first inning as TJ Friedl would get on with a leadoff walk after the Mets, reminder, struck out the side, Hunter Greene, that is, against what we saw in Lindor and Soto and Alonso. 3 up, 3 down. Apologies as I just went out of focus there. Let's go ahead and focus this one once more. That's been going on and off constantly lately. I don't know why. But regardless, as we continue on here, folks, we see the Mets unfortunately go down in order 1, 2, 3. Hunter Greene just dominates Cruz's early, and then we would see a leadoff walk given up by Brandon Sproat to begin his MLB career. But after that, he gets a massive double play ball there from Noelvi Marte up the middle. Baty starts a turn, and that would be huge. And Elly De La Cruz then is called out on strikes. Elly, who really did not look great in a lot of at-bats in this series. We saw him not look great in that first one either. For Brandon Sproat's first career strikeout, a backdoor curveball that was nasty, painted outside corner. That did it for a scoreless first for Sproat's young career. And the second, we saw both teams go down in order 1, 2, 3. Sproat looking nice through 2 here, having yet to give up a run. Brett Baty hits a bomb and gives the Mets the early lead in this ball game, 1-0 with his 16th home run of the season there. So Brett the Hitman, or as I love to call him on any day that he hits a home run, Brett Bonds Baty here rips a 381-foot bomb, 105 feet there on a 91-mile-per-hour slider by Greene down and in. Mind you, Baty was the only Mets batter that actually looked like he knew what he was doing against the dominant right-hander today, and it was kind of fitting that the only home run and the only piece of contact that Greene gave up today wasn't from the fastball that's going to blow your doors off at 101, 102, but rather his slider that he just hung a little too down and in there right for Mr. Brett Baty. Cedric Mullins struck out Sweeney. Mullins has been dreadful with the bat, but that's an understatement for anyone that's been watching Mets baseball as of late, unfortunately. In the bottom of the third, we saw another fantastic inning for Brandon Sproat. He gives up a leadoff walk to Tyler Stevenson, but then he goes on to just quickly strike out the side. He handles Ke'Bryan Hayes there on 3 pitches, dotted there on the sweeper. Really loved his pitch usage today as well. Something that we know a lot in regards to Brandon Sproat, how he had such a great second half of the season, is not only rearing it back and just letting it go and having more of a max effort pitch by pitch, as he told the Mets entering now this stint with them, but also his approach from righty batters to lefty batters. More of the heavy usage on the sweeper that you will see against right-handers than the lefties. He's really deviated away from what we've seen otherwise in the sinkers and the sweepers in the first half this year in AAA against left-hand batters, and has went more in the range of changeup and curveballs. And he's had a greater success rate in doing so. And Sproat had a lot of success in this one as he struck out Ke'Bryan Hayes on 3 pitches. Just nasty work down and in there for pitch number 3. And then on 4 pitches, he gets him on the curveball and a swinging strike, that being a Matt McLain. Because again, I was really bothered that Joe Nathan got hit hard by McLain yesterday. Not that I was really upset with Tom, but rather I just wish maybe he understood the playbook against him a little bit better, because McLain cannot hit off-speed and breaking pitches to save his life. He's a true fastball through hitter, and that was a guy that just had egregious splits enough to say, hey, let's just spam curveball here and kind of see what happens. Brandon Sproat went that way, and it worked. Then TJ Friedl would strike out for the third and final strikeout on the final out there of the inning in favor of Brandon Sproat and the Mets initially, as he would get him on a curveball upstairs there for a called strike, dotted upstairs on Friedl as we head to the fourth. In the fourth, we saw Juan Soto get dotted for a called strike 3 from Hunter Greene. Then we see Alonso fly out. Nimmo with a 2-out walk, a good at bat there by Nimmo, but when Marte grounds out, only so much you can do. And that was a soft ground out, mind you. Then we see in the bottom of the 4th inning, Noelvi Marte with a leadoff walk. He would steal his 8th bag of the year there. Ellie De La Cruz with a ground out, and then Austin Hayes with a sac fly makes it 1-1. Mind you, Brandon Sproat had yet to give up a hit in this ball game throughout the first 4 innings, but had given up a run instead. I can't remember the last time that a major league starter gave up a run without giving up a hit to begin their career. Kind of crazy, a little bizarre. Either way, it's a tie ball game, 1-1. Mets Reds through 4. As we head to the 5th, Mets offense try and get something going against Hunter Greene, and again, nothing to show. 1-2-3 yet again, as Greene just is dotting corners, looking disgusting, looking better as he continues. And the scary thing about Hunter Greene, everybody, is that not only did Greene enter this outing with dominant numbers, but Greene also gets better as the game goes on. He starts with right around a 200 opponent batting average first turn in the order. Second turn in the order, it's around 220 or so. Then third turn, it's not even a $170. So again, as the game goes on and as deeper we see Hunter Greene go, he usually performs better, which is definitely not, that's so DeGrom-esque, it's not even funny. There are very few starters I can think of that fall in that category with elite velocity deep into ball games than when I think of a guy like Jacob DeGrom during his heyday with the Mets, especially when we think of 2020 to 2022 range for the few starts that he had while he stayed healthy. I know Jake is having a very good season this year as well, but he was more known for touching triple digits, obviously, during his tenure with the Mets than what he's doing right now with the Texas Rangers. That's going to be crazy when the Mets face DeGrom because he's slated to pitch Friday at Citi Field, potentially against one of the Mets rookie right-handers. So that's going to be very exciting. I may attend. That's how exciting that ball game is going to be. The same way that I will be attending tomorrow's ball game, 6:45 start between the Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies. I will be there, everybody. So be on the lookout. We will be live exiting Citizens Bank Park. We will be live on my phone while exiting the ballpark. Yes, you heard that correctly. It's going to be bananas, especially if the Mets lose. People are going to probably throw shit on me, talk a lot of smack, probably say some things that the kiddos should not want to listen to, so be prepared for that. As well as if the Mets win, I'm going to be an obnoxious schmuck. I'm also going to have to be wary of my surroundings in the process. My good buddy, who's a Phillies fan, will come along with me so he can kind of be the bodyguard if the Mets win handsomely. And if the Mets lose, then he'll obviously still kind of be the bodyguard while we're doing our thing live, exiting Citizens Bank Park. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. It's going to be crazy. Like I said, I'll be sitting visitor side there in the 100 area, third base side for the most part. For all my respective Mets fans, I'll be attending tomorrow's game in Philly. It's going to be hopefully a lot of fun. We're going to have Noah McLean facing Aaron Nola, the most lopsided pitching matchup on paper this entire series. So I'm happy about that as of now, at least. To say Ton hasn't impressed at all, I think is silly. I think Ton had a lot of things to be encouraged by in his first outing, even with him missing inside a lot with his fastball and then a bit with his breaking ball. His fastball, he just sat upstairs a little too much, didn't get some calls yesterday, and also had the changeup missing down in the dirt. He's going to have to mix up the arsenal a bit more, but I would say for a 22-year-old to think that he hasn't at all been impressive is pretty stupid in my humble opinion for a kid who literally has been a better starting option still than most starters in this entire rotation outside of Noah McLean for the past calendar month and a half. Beggars can't be choosers, so let's not start to fall in that category, shall we? As we continue on from here, folks, in the bottom of the 5th inning, we would see Brandon Sproat in his second to last inning in this one get through it. Outside of a Ke'Bryan Hayes walk, he would get yet another big strikeout, and yes, you guessed it, Matt McLain on this sweeper this time, down and away, beautifully dotted. Love the placement there that we saw by Brandon Sproat, and the Mets are still in a tied ball game, 1-1 here through 5. As we then get ourselves to the 6th inning, the Mets do nothing because Cedric Mullins has nothing to provide whatsoever. Francisco Lindor flies out and Juan Soto flies out, and that does it there for a 1-2-3. In the bottom of the 6th, we see Cincinnati get the lead after the first hit given up by Brandon Sproat in this ballgame. Sproat had a no-hitter as MLB debut through 5 innings. Pretty damn good if you ask me. Then he gives up a 1-out single there to Noelvi Marte. Then Ellie De La Cruz unfortunately hits himself a double but gets to third base, and that makes it a 2-1 ball game. Frustrating, especially when we saw in this circumstance, because one of these plays, Jet McNeil threw it to home, where if he just threw the cutoff man, Ellie probably doesn't score there. That makes it 3-1 as Austin Hayes hits himself a single. So Cedric Mullins unfortunately has a noodle arm in center. We saw that again today. The more that Cedric Mullins plays for this Mets team, the more they fall in the greater category of fans that didn't like it from the start, in the sense of he's not finding anything right now. If he's not stealing bases, he's not doing anything. And that's a problem, because Mullins Mullins is on quite the hitless skid. I believe he's 0 for his past 25, if not north of 30 right now, and he's just providing little to this team. You can't say he's a defensive upgrade over Tyrone Taylor because nothing has really told you that to this point. He's not as fast as Tyrone. He hasn't shown as much range as Tyrone. He's not a bad defender, but again, for what we already had, he's moving us at best lateral, and that's a problem because Tyrone, the whole reason why you traded for Cedric was because Tyrone Taylor's bat was so below league average for 2 to 3+ months on end. Mullins, who is very fickle with his offense this season, showcased yet again exactly the risk in investing in him, even while the Mets gave up very little in that rental trade for the veteran outfielder. So Mullins, who has never been on a team outside the Orioles, is feeling the pressure of being on a big market team, similar to Ryan Helsley, and we're seeing how they're both not faring right now. And he's in a walk year as well. He's going to be free agent at the end of the season. So the more Mullins doesn't perform, the more it hurts his pockets. And I'm sure that's also frustrating for him too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Tyrone Taylor not only coming back, but Jose Siri, guys. Love it or hate it, Jose Siri is returning to this Mets team very soon. He played again today for AAA Syracuse, as did Tyler McGill. To my surprise, Tyler McGill had yet another rehab outing. I thought the Mets would be done. They said north of a week ago they would be done, and yet they still aren't. And Tyler McGill got rocked in his latest rehab outing today, as we will break down in content tomorrow. But that is not a great look in regards to seeing what they're going to get in him. The fact that they're stretching that long that we're seeing in AAA right now in his rehab is eerily similar to what they did with Frankie Montas and Paul Blackburn, in the sense of they want to keep them there as long as they possibly can because they know that they're not going to provide much at the major league level. It's kind of starting to fall more in that category right now, which is frustrating. We have prospects that play center field. Well, we absolutely do. But the problem is that I don't think Carson Bench has had enough of a sample size for the Mets to be like, F it, let's go ahead and call him up before the end of the season. If I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong. I'm not complaining if I'm proven wrong because I love Carson Bench. But I'll be genuinely surprised if the Mets consider him any sooner than spring training 2026. It's Tyrone Taylor, Jose Siri, Cedric Mullins. That'll be the three-headed monster. Other out center field configuration, not named Jeff McNeil for the times he plays there too. As we continue on this ball game, everybody, though, it's a 3-1 Reds lead. Thank you so much, Ernesto, for the donation. I will get to that shortly, my guy. Dave, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. I'll get to your comments here shortly, everybody. As we continue on, though, the Mets are now down 2 runs here as we get to the top of the 7th. And I'm sorry, as soon as it became 3-1 Reds, I genuinely did not feel that the Mets stood any chance of winning this ball game. It's not that the Mets can't win a ball game down 2, it's that the fact that the Mets almost can never win a ball game down a run or more with only 6 to 9 outs to play. They just have looked horrendous down the stretch in ball games, even with their great offense as of late. And we saw that continue because after Alonso got on with a walk, Nimmo struck out swinging, Marte struck out swinging, and McNeil struck out swinging. So to end his ball game, Hunter Greene strikes out the side after giving up a leadoff base runner, and that's pretty darn impressive on him, and a horrendous look by this Mets offense. Hunter Greene now is down to a 2.59 ERA on the season. In the 8th inning, Mets offense can't get anything going after we saw Reed Garrett at his first outing back off the rehab assignment, looking great. Reed Garrett reinstated with the Mets today, gave up a hit, but that's all she wrote, has a 3.5 ERA after a Sproat's 7th inning for this Mets team. And the 8th, the Mets go down. Alvarez provides nothing. Baty gets nothing going. And Vientos gets nothing going. And that does it there for the 8th. As we see then, everybody, in the 9th inning, the Mets get Juan Soto with a bomb to right, a scorching liner, his 38th of the season. But that's all she wrote, because after Alonso would reach there on a throwing error by Ellie De La Cruz because he played too deep on the throw, Brandon Nimmo then pokes himself a single, and the Mets look like they have an opportunity to, at minimum, tie this ball game. Instead, Starling Marte grounds into, yes, you guessed it, a inning-ending double play, a game-ending double play, and the Mets go on to lose this one by a final score of 3-2. Dave, thank you so much for the $5 holla. I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you guys kindly for hitting that like and subscribe on your way as we're breaking down the latest loss in Mets land as the Mets dropped their series finale today to the Cincinnati Reds by a final score of 3-2. Brandon Sproat looks strong. Unfortunately, this Mets offense, not so much. Dave, when Soto homered, I knew it was a tease. It was in the sense that the Mets only had 2 outs to work with and they were still down a run. I did not think that they were going to rally all the way back after that Soto home run. I was happy to see the Soto home run. Doesn't change the fact that I wasn't overly instilled with confidence, and for good reason. I know you fell in that category too for the same reason. Ernesto, thank you so much for the $5 donation, my friend. He says, I'm late, but honestly, I think that Mullins is so overrated as worse than McNeil. I mean, I don't know why you would talk about Mullins and McNeil. They shouldn't be. McNeil's a much better option than Mullins right now as an overall player. McNeil's batting like 260, 270 with 800 OPS. Mullins is barely scratching the surface with a 700 OPS and around the Mendoza line. They are not the same. The reason why the Mets don't love McNeil in center too much is because, again, you really are spreading him thin for a guy that plays all over the place to begin with, and you do not want to risk injury with someone like him. McNeil is kind of vital for the Mets. We didn't think that heading into the season, but he most certainly is now. And so is the case with Marte's bat. Up until the past week and a half or 2 weeks now, Marte just has a tendency to be such a rally killer. It's crazy. And he's done this multiple times over the past week. And I like Marte. I love the run he's had this year. But, you know, when we look at Jose Siri returning for this Mets team as well, it'll be interesting to see how the Mets go about trying to balance the playing time with their outfield options and DH options, most certainly. Ernesto, great member. Thank you so much for the donation, brother. I really do appreciate that. But, guys, let's get into breaking down a positive today, the lone positive, and that is going to be Brandon Sproat's really, really strong outing, in my humble opinion. As you guys can see, Brandon Sproat goes 6 rock-solid innings for this Mets team. And as we break down what exactly Brandon did in this one, folks, it did consist of the following. So let's get into what exactly it consisted of. And this can load for me. Just give me 1 second, everybody. Sproat threw the entire kitchen sink today. He had 6 pitches, headlined by the sinker that he utilized the most. I'm really happy. I love the fact that Sproat did not go heavy fastball at all today. That was recipe for success. He went sinker at 27% of the time, topped out that we saw 98, sat 96, and sat right around 2,000 on the spin rate. Curveball, 22% of the arsenal, topped out 82, sat right around 80, and was sitting right around 2,400 on the spin rate. Sweeper, 22% of the arsenal as well, topped out 87, sat 84, 2,400 on the spin rate too. Four-seam fastball, 13% of the arsenal, topped out 97, sat 96, and was right around 2,100 on the spin rate. Four-seam fastball, we saw 13% there. Topped out 97, sat 96. Oh, I think I just relayed that. I apologize. Changeup, 9% of the arsenal. Topped out 91, sat right around 90, and 1,700 on the spin rate. And the slider that he threw the least today, his normal harder slider there, at just 8% of the arsenal. Topped out 91, sat right around 89, and was right around 22 to 2,300 on the spin rate. So all in all, again, this was a very impressive first major league debut for one Brandon Sproat. So because of all those reasons, and as we break down even further what Sproat did right in this one, I'm going to pull up actually real quick his pitch profiler numbers. For those that don't know, pitch profiler, he does a great job on X, giving you guys a grade on, you know, a pitcher's arsenal on a scale of 1 to 100 with every single pitch. And this is what he did in regards to Brandon Sproat today. Here are the official grades. So I'm just going to go ahead and show each and every one of you. And I think the easiest way for me to show you is to hop back to here,
folks,
and I apologize for the ad running once more. That's my bad, everybody. I'm gonna go here. We're gonna go here. So as you guys can see, this is out of 100, mind you. So focus on the Pro Stuff Plus. Shout out to Pitch Profiler. Check him out on X. Does a great job. In general, Brandon Sproat was above league average as a pitcher today at 102 on the Pro Stuff Plus. That is just for some context. If you're above 100, you're above league average. If you're below 100, you're below league average. The sinker was right around league average at 97th percentile. 100 is league average for context. The sweeper was well above league average at 108. The curveball was above league average at 102. The four-seam was around league average at 99. The changeup was around league average at 98. And the slider, even though we only threw it 7 times today, was right around a little above league average at 105. So a lot to like about Brandon Sproat and what he was doing today. Like I said, I thought he looked really calm, really comfortable out there. I loved his lack of usage with his four-seam fastball, his heavy usage of that sinker, which has really been a make-or-break pitch for him this year. And I really, really do appreciate that Brandon, in a batter's box against a Reds team that was in dire need of winning this series, and sadly they still did. However, it wasn't for a lack of effort on Sproat's end. There is not a single fan out there that can go ahead and rag on what Brandon Sproat did or didn't do, because he most certainly did something great for the Mets in this one. I have very little complaints to say in regards to what Brandon Sproat was able to provide for this Mets team. Ernesto with a $5 holla. Thank you so much, my guy. Spinning back with some positivity this time. Keep up the great work. You've been killing it. Best Mets listen after GKR in the booth. Oh, you're too kind, Ernesto. Thank you so much for that. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you kindly, brother. You are amazing. The same way that you guys are amazing for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in and on your way out, guys. If you haven't already, I really do appreciate it. Again, key takeaways from this one is Brandon Sproat looked brilliant. And I'm actually, no, I'm being a hypocrite for that. I won't go the lengths of saying Brandon Sproat looked brilliant. He looked very good, though. The reason why I said brilliant is because I love to use my big buzzwords, but that was not the right one, because I said earlier in the show that I wouldn't call him brilliant. But I was happy with Brandon Sproat. I'm going to give Brandon Sproat today a final grade, a final line score. Drum roll, please. We are going to go with Brandon Sproat, first career start. He gets a rock solid 7 out of 10 for my guy Tyler. Really, really happy, because outside of the leadoff walks, that was like the only thing that really played to him, I felt like, in this one, up until he gave up some hard contact to Ellie De La Cruz, but that was literally it. They're in the 6th inning. Sproat was nails otherwise. He had 5 hitless innings. Can't fault the guy for the effort here in this one. Loved how that curveball looked, especially backdooring it. It really, really looked nice. Everything about his arsenal, I was just really encouraged by today. He looked like he had a lot more confidence and command in his arsenal than Jonathan has looked in his first 2 starts. And that's not a slight on Tan, but just a difference in maturity, right? Brandon Sproat, 3 years older than Jonathan. He turns 25 in approximately 10 days, around September 17th or so. So happy early birthday for Mr. Brandon Sproat. And this was a quality debut. Unfortunate that Hunter Greene and this lack of Mets offense spoiled what was otherwise a really, really quality outing for him. So Brandon Sproat did his thing in this one. He gets a 7 out of 10 from your guy Wardy. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the live chat, and to our replay viewers, thank you so much for being in here. I really do appreciate that. Hear everything that you guys got to say. Reed Garrett did his thing as well. I got very little complaints on the Reed Garrett front from this one. Reed, again, 3.54 ERA after going a scoreless inning for the Mets. Tyler Rogers looked very strong as well. Things I'm not complaining about. Listen, Tyler Rogers has now given up just 4 earned runs across, I believe, 19 innings or so. So while, yes, fans have been, to a degree, upset about the success of Drew Gilbert, but again, color me shocked, you're always going to be upset when you trade away a guy and they perform well after they leave, even though they never had really an opportunity to succeed here, especially because I don't think Drew's going to blossom as a true center field option. If he does for the Giants, great. I'm happy for him. But the Mets have their rightful reservations there, and they also have a guy by the name of Carson Bench who knows a thing or two about being a fantastic outfield prospect. So Tyler Rogers, though, he's been pretty rock solid, all things considered. I know he doesn't look perfect every single time out there, but he's at least keeping himself afloat in this one, where we're seeing a lot of these other guys, headlined by Ryan Helsley, just looking like such a shell what they otherwise usually are for this Mets team. My guy, your Steelers came back. They did come back. What an insane game. I can't wait to watch the highlights again. I was grateful that I was able to watch both of them simultaneously, because that half-hour gap between the Mets and the Steelers-Jets game was a good one. Yes, for those that don't know, I'm a Steelers fan. Always have been. I come in peace, however. The Jets, hilariously enough, I watch more Jets content than any other football team, because my close friend Richie Melora, who covers the Jets at Jets Media, was hosting an event to over 100 people at MetLife Stadium today for his latest Jets Media Day. It's unfortunate, as now I believe he's 0 for his last 3 at least doing these media days, because the Jets just unfortunately suck. It's more about the Jets not being a good football team than it is him being bad luck. But this was a great game between the Jets and the Steelers. I mean, defense aside, it was horrendous for both teams. But when you talk about key moments for Rodgers dueling out versus Fields, the way that Breece Hall just dominated with the run, so did Justin Fields in this one, and all the way up to the final play. That was cinema for Week 1 football, and that's the kind of football that I hope we see. I really would love to see a rematch of the 2012 AFC Championship round between the Steelers and the Jets. Obviously, I hope for the same outcome as a Steelers fan, but at the same time, I'm not going to be overly upset if the Jets have success over Pittsburgh, because the Jets are my soft spot. They're the other team that I definitely am a fan of, even though I'm not like anything more than a casual fan for them, just because I got no reason to really dislike them. Same thing with the Giants, because again, I'm a Steelers fan. I'm not an Eagles fan. I hate Philadelphia and Philadelphia sports. So we're in unison there. We're not that far apart from each other. On the Mets offense, they had very little to show in this one. How we doing, Dash? Thank you so much for being here. The Mets absolutely suck. I can't believe they were 21 games above 500. Embarrassing. Yeah, it's been a struggle. It's definitely been a struggle, my guy. The ebbs and flows of 162 for a Mets team that while they have the offense, they don't have the pitching. When they have the pitching, they don't have the offense. Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. Yada, yada, yada. Same story, different day here in the 162. Unfortunately. As we get into this with this offense, though, guys, let's talk about it, because Lindor went 0 for in this one. Lindor, who got on base 3 times yesterday, 3 doubles, but 2 really, really bad base running blunders, especially his second one, going from second and third base. Did not like that. Lindor, 268 average, 803 OPS. Juan Soto, 1 for 4 with a solo bomb for Soto, 262 average, 928 OPS. Alonso, 0 for in this one, 267 average, 862 OPS. Brandon Nimmo, 1 for 3, 265 average, 781 OPS. Marte, 0 for, we saw 0 for 4. Terrible double play ball to end the ball game. Another ground out and 2 strikeouts, 270 average, 761 OPS. McNeil in center today, 0 for 3, 263 average. That we see there in 801, 801 OPS. Francisco Alvarez, we saw there. Catcher, Alvy, in this one. And mind you, McNeil was at center, but he played around with positions today, obviously. Jeff, 263 average, 801 OPS with no hits. Alvarez, 0 for 259 average, 766 OPS. Baty, 1 for 3 with his 16th home run of the season, 251 average, 743 OPS. Cedric Mullins, 0 for 218 average, 701 OPS. Mark Vientos, 0 for 243 average, 733 OPS. Scott, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. Wardy, if we don't get Alvy's bat, we need Terrens behind the plate to throw guys out. No Alvy offense equals no help at all. While I definitely hear where you're coming from, I think we can all agree Alvarez called a very good game for Brandon Sproat today. So I wouldn't say that he brings no value defensively. He most certainly does, especially to some of the younger starters in the staff that Alvarez has had a chance to work with in the minor leagues during his minor league stint there, because he worked with Sproat, obviously. He worked with McLean to a degree, and that was all an encouraging thing, to say the least. Jonathan, he did not get a chance to work with because Ton did not get to AAA until August. But still, I hear you out. Just know that I think Alvarez is going to be okay. They're going to continue to platoon them at a decent rate, I would say, right now. D-Mac, thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate that. He says, based on their scheduling, which team is a bigger threat down the line for the last wildcard spot? Giants, Reds, or D-backs? That's a great question, D-Mac. And you know what? Let's go ahead and see if we can answer that question for you right here, right now. So as we get into that was the Mets offense, everything that you guys need to know there. When we go back to the wildcard standings, let's go ahead and take a look at these schedules exactly. Who has the most favorable schedule versus the worst schedule on paper? And mind you, the Mets themselves, let's not forget our schedule. You got the Phillies for 4 starting tomorrow, in which your guy Tyler will be in attendance there. Hope to see you guys there. I'll let you guys know what section I'm in tomorrow in case you guys want to hang out, talk shit, something in between. Either way, we're going to have fun. Looking forward to it. We have the Texas Rangers over the weekend with DeGrom towing the rubber. Then we have San Diego Padres at home. That's going to be the biggest series for the Mets for the remainder of the season, no doubt. Then we have DC at home. Got it. That's a trap series if I've ever seen one. Got to take 2 out of 3. Then we're in Chicago and in Miami. Yeah, it's by no means smooth sailing. No series is smooth for the Mets. I don't look at anything with confidence anymore. I really don't. But as I look at the Reds, let's start with them and take a little peek as to what their remaining schedule is like. We'll look at the D-backs as well. The Diamondbacks have a 3-game gauntlet against the Giants beginning tomorrow. So that's going to benefit the Mets while hurting the Mets at the same time. Like if the Giants take 2 out of the next 3, that's not good. If the Diamondbacks take 2 out of the next 3, it's not great. But it's like, again, it's who's the lesser of the evil here? And right now the lesser of the evil is the Diamondbacks because they're a half game out more than the Giants right now. But they play the Giants the next 3 days. Then they're in Philly, so that's a big gauntlet. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no. The Diamondbacks would have to climb unbelievably high. They have the worst remaining schedule by far. They have, like, this is actually insane. They have the San Francisco Giants. The only let-up series they have is the Minnesota Twins starting on Friday the 12th through the 14th. Then they're back against the Giants again for a second series. Then they're playing the Phillies, then they're playing the Dodgers, and then they're playing the Padres in San Diego. Yeah, the Diamondbacks are cooked until they tell me they're not cooked, so I'm not even worried about them at the moment. When I look at the St. Louis Cardinals, let's take a look at St. Louis. Again, not a team that I'm overly worried about at this point in time, but they're still relatively in the race. They play Seattle starting tomorrow, which benefits us because Seattle is the better team there. Then they're Milwaukee, and then they're in Cincy. And then they're Milwaukee, and then they're Sanford. Oh, yeah. Again, Cardinals have a schedule that should, by all accounts, have them losing most of these series. They're in Seattle, then they're in Milwaukee. They're at home against Cincy, home against Milwaukee, in San Fran, and then they are in Chicago. So when looking at these schedules, it might come down to the Giants might have the best schedule of the group here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Giants right now. They have the Diamondbacks. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Yes and no. They have the Diamondbacks. They have the Dodgers. They have Diamondbacks again. Then they have the Dodgers for 4, which is crazy. And then they have the Cardinals. And then they have the Rockies. So their final week should be smooth sailing for the Giants. But where will they be playoff standing by then? They might be a little too late out of there. And last but not least, the Cincinnati Reds. Where does Cincy stand with their scheduling right now? They have the Padres for 3. Then they have the A's for 3. The Cardinals for 3. The Cubs for 4. The Pirates for 3. and the Brewers for 3. So based on schedule, this is tough. Yeah, this is kind of like, I don't hate the Reds' schedule for the remainder of the stretch here. So you guys let me know, what team do you think is going to be the biggest problem going forward here when we take a look at the standing right now between the Diamondbacks, the Reds, and the Cardinals? The Diamondbacks have the worst schedule on paper moving forward, in my opinion. The Giants here, are interesting because the final week of baseball for them looks smooth. But how do they perform in some gauntlet series beforehand? They have a big test because they played well against some bad teams. That's something to bear in mind. The Cincinnati Reds have stayed afloat, don't have the worst schedule remaining, but I also don't love it for them either. So, yeah, every team definitely has kind of their ups and downs when we're looking at, who has a bit of an advantage or not as we look at the final couple series of the season. Who's going to crack that final wildcard spot? Now, as the Padres have 1.5 game lead on the Mets have an opportunity to secure that second wildcard spot at best. I don't necessarily see the Mets getting all the way to the Chicago Cubs for wildcard spot number 1, but I think the Mets can absolutely get themselves right back in that second wildcard spot as they were tied no later than 48 hours ago with the Padres. The Mets have one more series against the Padres, as we know, and the Padres themselves have been scuffling big time for the most part. And when we take a look at their schedule for the remainder of the season, San Diego has the Cincinnati Reds beginning tomorrow. Then they're in Colorado for 4. Then they're at the Mets City Field for 3. Then they're in Chicago against the White Sox. And yeah, no, I think that they have 2 obnoxious lopsided series that unless they roll over, they should be comfortable. You to still have a 4-game set against the Rockies is ridiculous. And then you have 3 in Chicago against the White Sox. You end the year at home against Milwaukee and Arizona. Yeah, Padres don't have the worst schedule. They're kind of balanced, if I'm being honest, when we take a look at that. So we'll see if the Mets can obviously catch them. I hope that they do, obviously. But they're going to need to continue to win, and the Padres are going to need to continue more of their losing ways as of late. As we hop back here, everybody, as we hop back to the main slide, some final remarks I want to share with each and every one of you, and I want to hear from you guys. So if you guys have any specific comments, questions, or concerns, definitely do not hesitate from relaying them right now. But as we know, Carlos Mendoza and this Mets team are going about things on a start-by-start basis. But having said that, they have figured out what their starters are going to be for this next 4-game gauntlet against the Philadelphia Phillies. And you got Noah McLean toeing the rubber against Aaron Nola game 1. Game 2, you got Sean Manaea against Ranger Suarez, a battle of the Southpaws. Manaea's been batting practice. This very well could be the final turn in the order for Sean Manaea as a Mets starter this season. Because if he gets rocked again, the Mets will probably push him towards an IL stint, something along those lines. And then that's likely the last we see of him here before playoffs or anything sooner or close to. Clay Holmes toes the rubber game 3 against Christopher Sanchez. The Mets demolished Christopher Sanchez like it was nothing last time they played him, but the Mets also demolished Christopher Sanchez at Citi Field. At the bank in Philadelphia, Christopher Sanchez is one of the better pitchers in all of the National League. So that's going to be a really, really tough task to see if they can do it again. Same way how it's going to be an interesting task to see if Noah McLean can either one-up or be in similarity as good as he was as he dominated the Phillies the last time that they faced each other. The Phillies seeing McLean for a second time benefits them greatly now because they've already gotten a taste of McLean. So how are they going to fare second time around? No team has faced McLean more than once yet this year. So it'll be interesting to see how Philly does tomorrow. Then you got David Peterson toeing the rubber against to be determined there for Game 4 of the series. Peterson, again, has just been looking so mediocre the past month and a half right now. It has not been great. So the Mets are going to hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully, get something cooking when it comes to their offense and pitching-wise. They just stay afloat. Brandon Sproat kept you afloat today. Jonathan kept you afloat yesterday, even when allowing 4 earned runs. The Mets were still within that ball game. The offense just did not show up. When you look at Ryan Stanek, that did not help. And Carlos Mendoza playing Stanek in a relatively close ball game still pisses me off 100%, all things considered. You have to take these series. We're at minimum split, right? You just have to try to stay afloat because you're going to see one of these teams really start to get on a run more than likely soon, and that being in the Reds and the Giants and the Diamondbacks, or to a lesser degree, the St. Louis Cardinals. Do you think they might piggyback Manaea? Yes. If they don't put him on an injury list stint, if say he doesn't fare well his next time out there, yes, I think you have to. I think you should consider Manaea in a piggyback situation as is for his start against the Phillies, but they're probably not going to do that right now until we see something to prove otherwise. But yeah, I do agree with you. I definitely think that Manaea is going to benefit by being in a piggyback situation. I don't think he's alone in that category either. It's better to be the last time Stearns goes into a season with his experimental rebound rotation. If he didn't learn the lesson this year, then I'm done. Understandable. Scott, great member, says Tyler sucks. He got lit up in the minors. Let's see. What pitchers do we trust right now? Pitchers that we trust, Noah McLean. If we're doing this based on recent performance, in order, it's Noah McLean, Brandon Sproat, Clay Holmes, Jonathan, David Peterson, Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga. That's the order. And that's not good. That's why the Mets have a problem. That's why we have major problems, when we look at the veterans not getting the job done when it comes to performance, as well as the youth looking exciting, showing their flashes, but you can only rely on a youth movement so much. Mets may get exposed with that, and it wouldn't be shocking if it does, because, again, that's what happens when you rely on 3 top pitching prospects. Tyler McGill I didn't mention because he's not back up with the team yet, but McGill would be at the bottom of that list. Peterson does look fatigued. Yep, this is most innings he's ever pitched in his career. We're seeing that before our very eyes, no doubt. Manaea has been worse again versus Senga to a degree, but you need to get Senga more right now because Senga actually has less of a health factor than Manaea. Manaea needs surgery at the end of the season, so he's playing through a loose body in his elbow right now. Senga isn't technically playing through anything, and he's an ace caliber starter for this team when he's right. So the Mets need to do everything in their power to try to get Kodai right before it's too late, I think, more than Sean. That's why I will not be shocked if, again, Manaea gets placed on the injury list and that wraps up his season, or gets moved to the bullpen or is utilized in various circumstances, And I know McGill struggled today in rehab. I'm well aware. We're going to talk more about that and content for you guys tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. We will have a video dropping earlier in the day before we get set for our post-game live show directly from Citizens Bank Park, win, lose, or draw between the Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies tomorrow. It's going to be bananas. Thank you guys so much again to everyone that donated. First chiming in live at a replay. I appreciate you guys. Also, thank you so much to everybody for helping us get closer to 35,000 subscribers. Because once we hit 35K, we are giving away a jersey to one lucky subscriber on the platform, all just for being an amazing supporter here on the platform. And all you guys got to do is hit those buttons, help us get to 35,000. Once we do, we will continue on. We will give away a jersey to one lucky fan approximately a week from that point of hitting 35,000 in a future live stream. That will keep you guys up to date on the community tab, as well as mentioning it in our live stream and pre-record content, everything in between there. So make sure to check out me live later on tomorrow evening from Citizens Bank Park, win, lose, or draw against those Phillies in Philadelphia. Love you guys.